Welcome to Dropped In, Natasha. I am so stoked to welcome you here to our Dropped In community.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm stoked to have a conversation with you.
My pleasure. So, for those that don't know who you are and what do you do and why are you obsessed with it?
This question is always one of those like, okay, I could tangent for hours and I'm going to try not to. It's that piece of like which facet of who I am, right? So
Mm.
when we think of like career, let's say, there we go. I'm technically a registered physical therapist. So I specialize my entire practice and I'm going to say my mission of what I do around concussion and brain health. So that translates to owning a private practice here in Nanaimo, BC. That translates to having online programs for clinicians and people on a healing journey. That translates to having a podcast, to speaking, to all these different opportunities. As to who I am as a woman, because we so often define who we are by what we do, and I try to teach my son not to do that as well.
Mm.
So I say I am a very passionate, fiery, kind of heart-centered woman. So I am the girl that wears my heart on my sleeve, that will cry at puppy commercials, that my son giggles at me and looks at mom, "Are you are you crying when we watch The Good Doctor?" Like, I love puppy snuggles, intimacy, and companionship, and words of affirmation make my heart glow. Um, just as a human, that's like the essence of who I am. And I am a dreamer. I am forever the optimist who, if you try to tell me I can't do something, will find a way to make it happen and make it real.
Mm.
So, yeah. And why am I obsessed with what I do? I'm going to make it short to saying the impact I get to see uh, in the mission of what I have in this world is astounding. I work with clinicians who are helping people rehab with brain injury and concussion. And I
Mm.
work with individuals who've had concussions and brain injuries. And when you get that phone call or you get that email that says, Natasha, because of the work we did, I am now healthy enough to have a family and I am pregnant.
Mm.
Like, those are the emails I get.
Whew.
And those are the wins that my clinicians come back and be like, "Oh my god, now because of what I've learned in this program and working with you in your mentorship, this is the win I just got." And so, like, all of that just hits, like, so deep to I would say we're giving people their life's moments back, and it's so powerful.
Truly. Ugh. It is powerful, and I could cry. And I'm flooded with shivers, so we know we're on point. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for the work that you do, Natasha, like, truly. And I can imagine you've given many people their lives back, and I can only imagine I've never personally had a concussion or anything to do with my brain health, but I can imagine how limiting that is, and for you to be able to support them on their healing journey and to have that back is just yeah, it's astounding. So thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. So, how did you get into working with individuals specifically with concussions?
I always say it was by accident, which I feel
Mm.
like some of, like, the best laid things that happen in life are the things we never saw coming, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Um I was just talking about this on a podcast yesterday. It's like you can have your North Star of like where we aspire to move towards and the goals we have and the dreams we have. I think that's very important. That's the key of that's where our purpose guides us, right? Um, but be okay with not having every step of the how figured out because those amazing
Mhm.
moments of how we get there are the things we could never see coming. And so for me, it was completely by accident that I started working with individuals with concussion. Like
Mm.
I I'd started, I was gonna be a pediatric surgeon. This was my original goal. And then I learned that organic chemistry and biochemistry are not my friends. And so there's no way I was going to medical school. Uh, but I had a cousin who was a quadriplegic, sorry. So, and I
Mm.
lived with him and his wife for a while when I moved to Vancouver. And he was in a dirt biking accident in his 20s. And I stayed with them when I was really struggling to figure out what the hell I was gonna do with my life. I dropped out of university because of some traumatic incidences that had happened, was getting my life back together, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And when I was
Mhm.
talking with him, It was because I knew I wanted to be in the healthcare like, I knew I wanted to help people. Like,
Yeah.
since I was a candy striper when I was 12. I used to play the piano at the extended care home as a kid where my mom worked.
Mhm.
Like, I've
Mhm.
always loved supporting and pouring into other people. And when he would share his stories, he would talk about the physical therapists and the occupational therapists and their role in how he got to get back home. And how he's like, he was forever grateful to his doctors, but it was the PTs and the OTs that were the life impacting people.
Mhm.
And so that inspired me to go to physical therapy school. And coming out of school, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna work with." Initially, I'm gonna be a sport physio. I think that's what every person thinks when they go into physio school. Uh, that did not happen, and I started working with the neurological population, so a lot of stroke, Parkinson's, MS. And when we moved to Nanaimo, I'm skipping steps, but that's okay. Um, I opened Symphony because there was this huge void in our marketplace locally, and there was no one doing that work.
Mhm.
And so while I was seeing strokes and Parkinson's MS, there was an OT that had someone with persistent concussion, and she was like, "Well, concussion's the brain. Natasha works with neuro and stroke, which is the brain. Let's send them to Natasha." And then I remember this person. Oh, I'll never forget her name. I'll never forget what she looks like. But I remember her walking through my door and me being like, a deer in fucking headlights, Megan. Like, I said to her, I was like, "I'm gonna be brutally honest, like, I have no idea what to do." I said,
Mm.
"But if you're willing to work with me, I'm willing to learn."
Mm.
And I would say I think she didn't go anywhere because she had nowhere else to go, blessing in disguise. I enrolled in my first course that weekend, so, like, 3 days later, I found a course and enrolled, and I always just
Mm.
say I kinda dove down the rabbit hole and have never looked back. Um,
Ugh.
yeah, it was you don't go to physio school to aspire to have, like or at least I didn't, to have, like, some niche practice. The day if you'd ever told me that people would fly from around the world to come work with me in my little clinic in Nanaimo, BC, I would have laughed. But, like, that's what it's evolved to,
Yeah.
and completely by accident.
Wow. What a powerful story. Where were you 14 years ago? It's wild. I just looked at the date, Natasha. So my husband and I are celebrating 14 years of marriage on March 17th.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So on March 10th, we got married in Costa Rica. He got in a quad accident. We're lucky we got married as opposed to celebrating something else. Let's just say that. His back was hamburger meat. He broke all his ribs. He developed subcutaneous emphysema. Thankfully, in my past life, I was a nurse, so I had quite a few nurses there with me, but no one could figure out what was going on with him. But he had such a horrific concussion and the repercussions from that months later, like if not longer. And
Mhm.
it was such a horrific time for him. So where were you 14 years ago when we needed you?
Uh, Still in physio school. I was like, I was like, 14, yeah, no, no, not practicing yet.
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
but
thank you. It's people don't like, there's still today, this, like, myth that you get a concussion, which is a bump to the head, you give it a few days, and you're good. Like, people one of my biggest things, Megan, and this is I'm on such a journey for, like, yes, for teaching clinicians how to actually rehab this condition, and all this piece, but, like, my biggest thing, hun, is people need to be fucking educated, and they need to understand, like, if I could scream on the top of a mountaintop, like, that would be the thing because people do not understand that while it's a concussion, which is technically a mild traumatic brain injury, in no way, shape, or form does it mildly impact your life.
Mhm.
It affects everything,
Yeah.
and people just don't understand.
No. No, they don't. They do not. So people are flying all around the world because they found you.
Yes.
Wow. Profound, profound. So I know as, being one individual, you can only help so many. So tell me more about the Concussion Nerds.
Yeah, so this is what started Nerds, honestly, like, so we reached the spot in the clinic where, um, like, I have 3 spots left for the entirety of 2026 for patients,
Wow.
personally. My clinic obviously has more, but, like, me personally, I have 3 spots left. Um, and you can only help so many people. Everything we do is one-to-one. I work with the same person all week long, like, this is and so it was this piece of stepping back of the problem is that I hear the people that fly here are people who've been on this journey usually for years. So anywhere from 18 months to 10 years later are the people that come and work with me. And then that coupled with the online stuff that I do for Healing Journey, I would hear the same stories over and over and over again.
Mm.
So before I had Concussion Nerds, I actually had a program for people with a healing journey that was a virtual program. And I kind of sat back one day and I was like, okay, I could keep doing this. Like, I know this program has value, but this is an end user program. And if I want to have greater impact in more people's lives, I need to go up the ladder to the people who are impacting the people.
Mhm.
And so for me, it's like, well, my clinic sees hundreds of people a year as opposed to the just me. And so I was like, I need to go to the clinicians. I need to give the clinicians the tools and the strategies and the different way of thinking that currently exists in the concussion space. Because if I can help one clinician, I've now indirectly helped hundreds of people.
Mhm.
And so that was the drive towards creating Concussion Nerds. And I will say there's some good concussion programs out there for sure. I will say Nerds is completely different than any other program out there. And I'm going to say a big piece of it is it's built on the foundation of the nervous system sets the capacity.
Mm.
And how do we work with the nervous system
Mhm.
to process change and integration as opposed to it just coming along from the ride and us completely ignoring it? And then the second piece is I really deep dive people and teach them about system integration
Mm.
as opposed to just here's the system. Because in the healthcare world, what happens is we are so siloed in our disciplines, right? Like there's
Mhm.
vestibular PT. Even just in physical therapy, there's vestibular, there's cervical, there's manual, there's exercise only based PTs. And then it's like you cannot successfully treat a concussion through that lens.
Mhm.
And so what my program really does is yes, we talk about the individuals, but we talk about how everything integrates together.
Mm.
And so my whole thing, and yes, when people fly here from around the world, I'm super humbled and I'm honored, and they shouldn't have to.
Mm. True that.
And so Nerds was born because it was me stepping back to be like, okay, I am actually making really impactful changes in people's lives. People who've
Mhm.
been plateaued for ages, people who've seen multiple clinicians and good clinicians, and they come here and they get even more change. And so I
Mm.
recognize that like my lens is very different and my approach is different, but but it's teachable.
Mhm.
And so it was that piece of, okay, if I'm going to really make impact in this world so that this many people aren't going down this path of years, I need to step back and I need to actually educate the clinicians so that they can help their hundreds of people downstream.
Mm. Bless you. The ripple is real, isn't it?
It's a complete ripple. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, how often do you run this program? How many clinicians do you work with a year?
Yeah, so it is a group program.
Mhm.
And so we have a couple different levels or like aspects to it. So I actually don't cohort it. And I don't cohort it because I feel like I want it to be available when the clinician is ready to take that step. And I don't want to sit here and be like, sorry, you got to wait till the next 6 months. Like, I appreciate programs that do cohorts. And for some programs, it has to be run in that structure. I
Mhm.
built Nerds so that it didn't. And so how it works is it's kind of like a three-part thing. So we have a self-paced curriculum. It's beastie. I'm not gonna lie. I'm literally, oh my gosh, Meg. I've literally written a textbook. I'm in the middle of updating. Um, this is the funny part. Is like Nerds is already levels ahead of so much that's out there. But I launched it
Mhm.
3 years ago. And I was like, okay, it's time to update it. Like I can explain things better. And I was like, hey, time to update it. I'm like, there's been new research in the last 3 years that needs to be reflected.
Mhm.
It takes usually 14 years for things to reach clinical practice. So I'm putting studies that were published this year in the curriculum. Um, but I just wrote the vestibular section and it's like 150 pages. So it's beastie. But so anyways, there's this core curriculum. That part is self-paced. They move through it at whatever speed they want. It's a 6-month
Mhm,
program. It's because you need to commit to it.
mhm,
There is a community, a multidisciplinary community, which I love. And then I do live group mentorship calls every week. And we
mm,
actually it's not just a free for all. It was like, "Hey, what aspect of these calls are gonna help them be better clinicians?" And
mhm,
so one of the calls a month is actually open floor Q&A. One of the calls a month is a clinical case workshopping call. So they get walked through assessment to treatment planning to progression of a person so they can see it all in action every month. And then
mm,
we review the research every month. So they are getting continuously the newest research in concussion. And then we just do a business kind of free for all because part of it is I approach how you structure your clinic differently as well than a traditional clinic. And so
mhm.
when they're starting to integrate this model in their clinic, there needs to be a spot for them to ask questions.
Right.
So we just do kind of a business Q&A. I love this part. I'm like, "Huh, I could talk about my program forever." Twice a year, we do what's called an immersion weekend. So I invite all the nerds here to Nanaimo,
Mhm,
and we spend some time in my clinic. We work with real patients. We put what they've learned online into action.
mhm.
And that's a pretty powerful weekend too. So that is ultimately, like, how it works, and which is
Wow.
why with that structure, people can come in at any time that suits them and their needs.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic. You are a pioneer of the field, that's for sure. So let's zoom out for a minute because I
Yep.
can imagine, I know for me personally, when I got into the work that I do, it's like, I just want to help people. But now here you are growing a massive business. Like, how do you navigate that? Like, you're supporting so many people one on one, you're supporting, the clinicians in this program, and, you're very innovative, you're a pioneer. So, like, tell me more about how you view business from that lens.
Have help and be really firm on taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
It's really this piece of I think we all go through it when we create businesses too, of we do just wanna pour into everyone else,
Mhm.
especially if you're a giver and a compassionate person, and you can't do that if you run yourself into the ground. Like, there was
No.
absolutely a time where it was like, "You needed me on Saturday morning? Done, I'm there. You need me to stay and work late? Absolutely, I'm there." Now I'm like, I'm really sorry, I can't."
Yeah.
Um, and so I do for the clinic, I have an amazing team. I have a phenomenal clinic manager. So for the day-to-day even the clinic, like, the day-to-day running of the admin, the billing, like, I am so far removed from that. I get
Mhm.
to be the visionary, I get to be the mentor, I get to be the person that has the conversations. I get to be the hope giver,
Yeah.
which is where I shine and what I love. Like, I know my weakness, and
Mhm.
processing billings is not my strength.
No.
Um, and from the online space, it really is for me, it was really just getting clear on how do I prioritize myself and really actually doing that, right?
Mhm.
Because there's so many times we'll say, "I prioritize myself," and then we don't eat right, or we don't go to the gym because you have to book a call. And you know what's really funny is, well, like, I feel like I've done pretty good on that. This year, I have set the firmest and respected the firmest boundaries for myself ever. Um,
Mhm.
and it actually came out of I was in so the other side, like, I love somatic healing and that piece of things, and I'm in my somatic facilitator certificate training right now. But I did a on-site week in Spain in December for training. And I came out of that week with this, like, fierce need to just be in you need to protect your energy,
Mhm.
and you need to protect your time. And I knowing that I have these 2 really big projects that I'm trying to get off the ground in the first of this year, I went down and I blocked off my calendar from January till June
Mm.
on the days that I was like, "Nope, these are dedicated days to other things," and I've left 1 day a week where I will take consults and that sort of thing. And so in the past, if someone messaged me and they're like, "I'm really struggling, like, it's been 2 years, and, like, I would really love to book a consult. Do you have something in the next 2 weeks?" I would have been like, "Hold on, let me see what I can figure out."
Yeah.
Um, and now it's just like, I really like, thank you so much for reaching out to me. And I'm sorry you're struggling. This is what I have.
Yeah.
If you would like, I can recommend you to somebody else and
Mhm.
you could see if you can get in sooner. But it's been a really hard shift, as in, like, just, like, actually putting my foot down for myself to respect my boundaries so that I can take care of myself, so that I can show
Mhm.
up for me, for my son, for my partner, for my businesses, for the people in my communities. Um, yeah, I think we learn that the hard way sometimes.
Oh, we certainly do. We certainly do, and that's such an important conversation to have because I think especially in any form, if you're a business owner, like an executive leader, whatever it is, it's like you just think that you have to be on all the time and everyone has access to you, and it's like you're just putting in so much energy that
Mhm.
you're just energetically bankrupt. You're not fueling your body, you're not moving your body. There's absolutely no boundaries, and we just wonder why we're just so exhausted and depleted. So I think it's such an important conversation to be had, and I honor you for doing that because, the we become the bottlenecks of our businesses, wouldn't you agree, if we just
Absolutely.
continue to just be so available and accessible to everybody?
1000%. I think that other piece too is when people talk about, we're in, like, all these we do these professional development courses and all these pieces, but your business, I am a firm believer that your business will only grow to the level that you can personally support. And
Yeah.
so when you do the biggest growth my businesses have seen are when I've done the personal work.
Mhm.
Right? Like, when you can do that personal work to unlock your beliefs, to unlock the negative story loops, to work on your own nervous system so you have increased capacity, that is simultaneously when your business grows. And I think
Yep.
too often, especially in my world, we get so stuck in this loop of, I say this having a continuing education program, but we get so stuck in this loop of needing to do the next piece of continuing education when sometimes what we really need to do is take a hot minute and pause and come focus on ourselves.
Yep.
Uh, so
Full stop. Yeah. Integration is key. Yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, so what is your big picture vision moving forward? Because you're in a somatic training right now. Like, tell
Yeah.
me all the things.
Yeah, so I actually did that training initially, uh, to figure out or to see if I could find ways to integrate it into my current model and practice to
Mhm.
help people have that understanding and that connection with their nervous system so we can make those that progress there to help our rehab land better.
Mm.
And when I went through the training, it was this element of, okay, a piece of this fits into my clinic and a piece of it really doesn't. Um, but I love it. Like, there's something so powerful about, healing is such the reason I say healing journey is because I feel like we're always all learning and we're always on a journey, and healing can look like so many different things.
Mhm.
Um, and supporting someone in a somatic way with, like, the facilitation I'm going through is very different yet similar as the work I do from concussion, right? It's just helping someone connect to who they are as a human so that then they
Mhm.
can grow. Um, and so it was this piece of coming back from Spain of being like, I don't know how this is actually gonna look or fit into my world yet. Um, and I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm also in this spot, Megan, where for the first time in my life, I feel 0 sense of urgency.
Mm. Yeah.
I while I have there's definitely goals. It's this, like, I'm in this, like, grounded knowing of, like, we're gonna get there,
Yeah.
and I don't feel panic, I don't feel stress, I don't feel this peace. I'm really much in this place of, like, how this is supposed to fit in will show itself when it's meant to,
Mhm. Mm.
and I don't feel like I need to fully understand that yet, and I'm very okay with that.
Mm. What a beautiful place to be.
It is.
Dropped in.
That is probably the perfect way to describe it, actually.
100%. 100%. That's how we
No,
roll.
yeah,
I
I
love
love
it.
it.
I could be here with you all day, Natasha. I just can't thank you enough for the work you do. My goodness. How can people learn more about the work that you're doing?
Oh my goodness. If they are a podcast listener, which if they're listening to this, I'm sure they are, they could come join me over on the Concussion Nerds podcast. We actually have just recorded season 2 of The Round Table. which is so much fun. So you can catch those full episodes on my YouTube channel. And then also Instagram is always an easy place to find me. So yeah.
Mm, beautiful. I wanna learn more about the roundtable. That's so fun. I love it. Um, what is a message of hope that you can offer the listeners for those who wanna quit or throw in the towel?
Oh, this is always a good question. I think it's so cliche, but it is this piece of like never give up.
Mm,
Like one minuscule step at a time.
mhm,
And knowing that there are other ways. And while we might not know how that window is going to look or which trajectory is going to take us, being open to the possibility of anything
mhm,
can serve us really well.
mhm. Love that. Mic drop. Thank you so much, Natasha, for just sharing your light, your wisdom, and truly making a ripple effect. Again, I personally have been affected with my husband having a concussion, and I know how challenging that can be, to say the least, for people. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for letting me share.
My pleasure.